Alrighty, today's lesson is about modeling with quadratic functions. So we're going to be taking some sets of data or functions that are best described using a quadratic model. And sometimes functions and everything can be modeled in various different ways. So this is specifically focusing on quadratics. So the first thing we're going to do in example 1 is write an equation, a quadratic function in standard form, whose graph passes through these points. And remember, standard form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are just numbers. So what I like to do is create a visual here that you have different x's and y's. So when x is negative 1, y is 5. When x is 0, y is 3. And when x is 3, y is 9. So I'm going to use something in my calculator called Quadratic Regression to give me that equation in standard form. So to do this, I need to hit the Stat button and then Edit and then enter data in L1 and L2. And then I'm going to go to Stat again, but then this time I'm going to go to Write and go to Calc, and then use the function QuadReg, because I'm going to do quadratic regression. So make sure you have those buttons written down, and then we'll go through the process in the calculator. So if I go to my home screen, and I go to Stat, and then Edit, I need to put in the information. So your L1 and L2 might have information in there. So if you go up so your L1 is highlighted, press Clear and Enter, your data is going to be cleared for you. So negative 1, 0, 3 were my x values, and 5, 3, and 9 were my y values. So go ahead and enter in your data. And then what you can do is go to Second Quit and go to your home screen. And you're going to want to actually do the function quadratic regression. So I do that by going to Stat, going to the right, and going into the Calc menu. So I can calculate. Quadratic regression is number 5. So I'm going to hit the number 5. And then I actually have the old operating system on this calculator, so yours might look slightly different. If yours looks different, I want you to hit the Enter button until it gets down to, it says calculate kind of at the bottom, and that's what you're going to do. If yours looks like mine, you're going to go second L1, comma, second L2, which is in the behind number 1 and 2, so you can tell your calculator that it's pulling information from L1 and L2, and then you're going to hit enter, and then you get your formula. So it tells me y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and they're actually telling me a, b, and c. So this says a equals 1, b equals negative 1, and c equals 3. So all I need to do is substitute those in and write my equation. So y equals x squared minus x plus 3. And then in example 2, we're looking at the motion of a ball. The height y in feet of a ball at time t is given by the following formula, and I'm going to use my calculator to answer these questions. So I'm looking at the motion of a ball, maybe somebody kicked it, and we want to know certain things about its motion. So I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to type in my equation, negative x squared plus 8x. And I always like to start at zoom 6 to see what I've got going on here. So as you can see, a quadratic equation, as you should know, has the shape of a parabola. And this is going to go up, out of my range of my screen, and then back down. The only problem is to get an accurate count of what's happening, I need to see my whole screen. So I can always change the window. So if you go to Window, what Zoom 6 does, that's standard, is it gives you this 10 by 10. That's why these are all 10s. But you can change that, but you have to know which to change. You can change an x min, x max, or a y min or y max. So you need to think about what direction you need to go in. So if I look at my graph, in the x direction, I see my whole graph, right, from left to right, but it's up that it's missing. So I need my graph to basically be taller, because my parabola is taller. So what that means is I need to go to my window and change the y max because I need it to get taller. So you might have to play around with these numbers more than once until you get the right fit. But if I choose 20, because I know it needs to be bigger, and go back to graph, I want to see if I can find it. Which I can. I see the maximum. I see it going all the way up and all the way down. So just make sure you play around until you see your entire parabola in your screen, and then you can answer the questions. So it says, what is the height of the ball when it has been in the air for 3 seconds? So what that means is t equals 3. So I can substitute that in. Negative 3 squared plus 8 times 3 is 15. And you always need to include your units. It says height is in feet. So after 3 seconds, the ball is in the air 15 feet. Then it says, at what time will the ball hit the ground? So I need to look at my graph and say, well, what am I looking at? When does the ball hit the ground? Well, it's starting here at the origin. It's going up and then coming back down. So the x-axis is acting as the ground. So when our graph passes through the x-axis, that's what I need to calculate, and that's what we call a 0. So if I go to second trace into the calc menu, I'm looking to find the 0. So I'm going to number 2, pressing enter, and then I need to move my cursor over to as close to that 0 as I can get. And then I'm going to listen to the directions in my calculator. So as I get closer to my 0, I'm noticing that it says left bound, so I'm going to the left, pressing enter. I'm going to the right, pressing enter. Enter one more time, and I've got 8, 0. So make sure you can get that 0 on your own on your calculator. So if your calculator is still in your bag, please take it out and try this again. So I have a point 8, 0. So that means after 8 seconds, the ball is going to hit the ground. Then it says, what will be the maximum height of the ball? So I need to know the maximum of my function. So I go to second trace again into calculate, where I do everything cool. And I'm going to choose number 4 because this time I'm calculating the maximum. So I need to go to the maximum to give me an idea of where I'm at. So when it says left bound, I'm literally hitting the left arrow key just a couple times to get to the left, pressing enter. Then to go right bound, I'm hitting the right arrow key to go on the other side to the right, press enter. And then it says you guessed, so you press enter one more time. And I've got 416. So my max is at 416. So I just need to know what these mean. So where x was t and y is height. So the maximum height is 16 feet, and that happens after 4 seconds. Right? At what time will the maximum height occur? I get that from the same point, which is 4. So I hope you learned something today. Make sure that you know what buttons to press. If you were to see a problem like this in the future, you should be ready for it. Know what buttons to press and know how to change the window in your calculator. If you need to rewatch or look at any part of this video, please do so you're ready for the next time you meet in class.